Morning, everybody. How you doing today? A bit of a different one this morning on Mornings with Mark. I want to talk about getting your message across. And the reason I want to talk about this is a few things popped up on my radar that kind of went, there's a connected theme here. So the first was on Friday, Facebook provided more details about the 30 million user, it was originally billed as 50 million user breach. And they gave some more technical details in an update on Friday afternoon when you traditionally try to bury news. And this is a continuing theme with breach notifications, is that companies treat it as a PR disaster, sort of a crisis response, and it absolutely is. But it's a crisis response where you want to err on the side of transparency and providing more information and informing your users, not burying that information to be able to point to it and say, well, like, hey, we talked about it, just because you didn't notice isn't really our problem. So it's taking a page of the PR playbook, but in a different manner. And one of the things that was really frustrating about Friday's response from Facebook was that they said, we'll be providing further details on how to know if you were affected later on. And that's sort of been this theme, is that they said, like, hey, we know there's a bunch of people affected, and so we wiped out everybody's passwords and tokens, or we wiped out everybody's tokens, not passwords, sorry. So we blew away any of the affected tokens for anybody who used this View As feature, but we didn't tell you. Just if you had to re-log in, you would have noticed it. That was a misplay right out of the gate, in my opinion. Would have been easier just to pop up a message or send a messenger message to all those people saying, hey, it's Facebook security. Your account was in the large umbrella. We're not sure if details were actually impacted, but you used this feature, so we're going to take no precautions. That kind of transparency is really required. And what's frustrating is that Facebook has a vehicle to all of us as users that they're not leveraging. And that's really frustrating. So that got me thinking. I did a little bit of press. I tweeted out a link to an article that I was interviewed for NBC. But another thing that popped up, and this is totally random and weird, but I think it's appropriate, was that I saw a video on YouTube from Steve Dotto. Now, Steve Dotto is a legendary Canadian technology personality. He's hosted a show, Dotto Tech, for years, a bunch of radio stuff. Check out his website, dottotech.com, Steve Dotto. He's now pushing more into YouTube, more as a self-driven entrepreneur, because he's always been his own sort of content production. But right now he's trying to help, as always, people understand technology better. And he's focusing a lot on baby boomers, which are his generation. He's even got more gray than I do. And he's trying to help them understand this new world we're living in. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. And the reason why this comes back to communicating and getting your message across was that last week Steve attended a video summit around YouTube ostensibly, and a bunch of other video platforms, but of course communicating like we are right now through video. And he came out with a video talking about podcasting. It was totally random, right? He went to a video conference and comes back talking about podcasting. But his point, and I'll link to his video below in the description, was that his target audience, which is baby boomers, is far more comfortable in a podcasting format online because it's far closer to something they already know, which is radio. So embedding that on a website, making it easier for people to consume his content, may increase his readership, and he's willing to do an experiment. Now, how does this all tie back together to security and privacy? Is that you really need to communicate with how your audience wants to consume information. So back to Facebook. Facebook's communicating from their PR playbook, unlike their billions of users and the 30 million affected users who predominantly use Messenger. So talk to them over Messenger or a Facebook timeline post or something within the Facebook interface, because that's how they're comfortable talking. For Steve Dotto, he's looked at this and said, you know what, I'm doing these vlogs, I'm doing all these great videos on YouTube, and I'm not going to stop that, but maybe there's something in podcasting that impacts my user base better. For me, I've been experimenting with this vlog. I've been streaming out daily. This is episode somewhere in the 120s. I've also, a few episodes back, forked this off into a podcast. So for those of you, and that's getting great viewership now. So for those of you that want to listen to this on a podcast, you can get Mornings with Mark on Spotify, on Google, on Apple. Through your normal podcasting venue, just search for Mornings with Mark, and there it is. And that's seeing a nice uptick in listenership, in audience growth. And here on YouTube, we're seeing great growth in audience. Facebook is okay. Twitch, which is an experiment that I'm streaming out on, is getting okay as well. But Twitter continues to be strong for the vlog. And I keep doing these experiments. And Steve Dotto was talking about doing experiments, and I think everybody in security needs to understand this: is that you need to and just in media and content and anyone trying to get a message across needs to understand this, is that you should do these little experiments. It costs almost nothing to do extra experiments, to try out a different channel, to try out a different venue, a different format, to see what your audience does best, right? What works best for them. So let me know. Hit me up online at MarkNCA for those of you in the vlog, in the comments down below. As always, for podcast listeners, everybody else, me at markn.ca. What medium, what format works best for you? I'm really interested in hearing it because, as always, this is an audience-driven show. But for those of you who are running a security team, who are working in security, who are worried about privacy, all that kind of stuff, think about when you're trying to get your message across, are you doing it in a medium that's working for you or that works for your intended audience? And I think the number one mistake that people make is that they try to do it in a medium that works for them, not their audience. Quick other tangent as well, as we're leading up to AWS reInvent, it had me thinking, because I'm working on my talk material, that's another perfect example of where people think about themselves and not the audience, is talks. Give a talk in a way, in a method that your audience is going to resonate with, that they are going to enjoy, they are going to appreciate, even if it makes you uncomfortable, because the talks and communication in any format are not about you, they're about the people you're trying to communicate with. So I hope you have a fantastic day. Let's continue this conversation online, in person if you see me at an event in the next couple of weeks. As always, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you on the show tomorrow.